Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.
And you're very welcome along to this Good Friday version of Off the Ball. It's a bit of a special. We're going to have the best bits of the show coming up later on. But first of all, we have Barry Geraghty in for Friday Night Racing. Very, very honoured to have Barry Geraghty here. Particularly the state that you're in, Barry, at the moment. It wasn't very straightforward for you to come in.
No.
You're the first guest that's kind of put the feet up for the show because you need to.
A bit of comfort, yeah.
No, what's the...
I brought my Zimmer frame with me.
Yeah, if you can hold it up there for 20 seconds, 19, part of your recuperation. What's going on there?
So it's an external fixator, it's called. So rather than put a plate in, the fracture was low down, if you like, towards the ankle. And they'd usually put a nail in, but when the fracture was so close to the ankle, they couldn't. So to put a plate on it would be close to the ankle too, and even a plate on your shin bone, going back riding a horse, mightn't be great. So the external fixator was produced.
External fixator. Now, this is kind of like getting knocked over by a car the eve of your wedding because it was the eve of the Grand National you got injured.
I know.
What happened?
Simple enough fall. He jumped well through the race. He was probably half going. I'd say was probably going to be finished 5th or 6th. Feeling the pinch, jumping the third last, and was a soft enough fall, went to the ground and lowered me down lovely and just placed me nicely under the horse that was coming alongside me, and that horse didn't have time to react or avoid me, so I was stuck on the choppers of his hind legs and got a belt in the back and belt in the leg, and that's your luck, you know. It was simple how it happened. The fall itself, you couldn't have asked for
a nicer fall,
but unfortunately it's where I ended up that got me.
I suppose as a non-jockey I often wonder what's the experience of a fall like and how quickly does it seem in your mind when it happens?
It's obviously instant, so but like that was soft, that was going lovely until and you're booted along, and next thing you look down and your foot is slightly tilted back to the wrong direction.
Are you in pain?
I hurt my ribs and was winded, but I broke my shin, the other shin, about 3 or 4 years ago. It was very sore. I broke both arms up here and both were completely disconnected, if you like. No pain, and there was no massive amount of pain in that at the time, but I was on morphine soon enough. Straightening it in Liverpool in the hospital that night, and it was a bit of an experience.
Wouldn't you say a bit of an experience?
Well,
yeah. Where, I suppose, of all the falls you've gotten, what was the actual worst in terms of pain or in terms of just the agony of the moment?
I fractured my shin bone 4 years ago.
That was it?
That was, yeah, because it didn't break right through. So every tiny move, it was what they call a green stick fracture. So it's part of the bone is broke. It's only fractured halfway through. So any movement was horrendous. So it was the worst. The arms were surprisingly easy. Now in the last, I did 2 of them within 10 months or something like that of each other. Yeah, no, they were fine. But I'd say that's as bad a one as I've had. Just how it is, and with the frame. And
does it get harder as you get older?
No, someone was asking me this morning. We were talking about it, and he was talking about how he was training with young fellas when he was about 38, and he was still an oval and he was flying, and he was crippled the following day. And I said he'd given up for a while in the middle. But I'd say if you maintain your fitness through your career and your weight as well, like I'd fall the same as I would before, I'd get up and walk away the same. Your fractures probably don't heal as quick. Our now nearly 4-year-old, he had the same fracture on his shin bone.
One of your youngsters?
One of the young lads, Reen, he's now 4, he was only 2 at the time, on the trampoline, turned, and the same thing, a green stick fracture, so it cracked halfway through.
You were like, it's all right, son, I can advise you through this.
It was Paula's watch. It was Paula's watch. I wasn't there.
Paula's the missus.
Yeah. But he was running around the kitchen in the cast 12 days later. I was out for 4 months, and I'd still struggled to run around the kitchen at that stage.
Yourself, Davy Russell and Ruby Walsh are you're all born in the same year, 40 this year, which I thought was quite remarkable. But Paul Carberry wanted to come back, but I think he found that the injuries were just too much when at that stage of his life. But you've no intention of calling it a day?
No, geez, not at all. I love it, and Plan B was never great for me, So no, I enjoy it too much. It's and as I say, like the falls, like that was an unfortunate thing. It could be worse, but you easily could have. Like there was a horse fell, I think it was the 4th or 5th last when I watched the replay. Desperate fall. I don't even know who it was, but a horrible fall, and they got up and walked away. So it's not necessarily the fall, and more times than not, it's the lad coming behind that does you.
Yeah.
So. It's that's out of your hands, and no, I still enjoy it. It's like any lad playing football, and I suppose the beauty of our game is, like, there's no doubt I wouldn't be as quick from A to B now as I would be, and definitely not at the minute. But as a lad turning 40, you're not going to be as sharp out the blocks as a lad who's 25. But put you on a horse, the advantage is on experience. For me, I'd say experience, but there's no speed. It's all reaction, and the reaction is the same. It's like probably like motor car racing. You see lads driving when they're older, because our rally cars, like it's the same thing. It's if you're up for it.
Tiger Woods, exactly. Yeah, did you enjoy the Tiger Woods?
Yeah, sure. How could you but not? It was brilliant. And like he bossed it.
You missed Cheltenham last year as well, because I remember, was it partially collapsed?
Yeah, I broke 7 ribs and collapsed lung. Yeah,
I remember talking to Frank Berry, JP McManus's racing manager, in Naas the day after the fall, I think, which was where? Kempton. And I said to Frank, he said he's a partially collapsed lung, and Frank sort of said to me, yeah, well, that's kind of like saying you're partially pregnant. Yeah. Either are or you aren't. And he was, but it's just been unfortunate for you the last few years, the way that's worked. Yeah,
but you know what? I was very fortunate. I'd say, like, that leg fracture I had 4 years ago was the first major break I had, probably since doing a vertebrae when I was about 19. So I went 15 or 16 years with a good run of no major fractures. So, you have to take the rough with the smooth.
Let's talk about the start, I suppose. You're from a proper racing family. Obviously, your dad Tucker and your brother Ross. And was it always going to be this career for you?
Sure, it's the only interest I had is, cut and play football for the life of me.
Mead man.
What's
your local club?
Drumree. Yeah. I'm living between Ratoath and Screen, and the kids are playing with Screen, so it's a busy club now. They do well, and there's a lot of drive there. So I'm on the runs there, and I do the odd help out with the under 6 training sessions the odd Sunday morning when I'm not rushing off somewhere. So
but you were no good yourself.
No good. But they said, what they say, you don't have to be able to lay an egg to know a bad one. Yeah.
And you started off, I suppose, you're one of your early days, you were with Noel Mead, who we had on the show recently, fellow Mead man. Yeah,
I started with Noel when I was 17, and great man to start, great. I rode a lot of pony racing before that, and and if you look at Noel over the years, he's brought on so many good riders, and it's like even Sean Flanagan, who was a fella who's gone to America, he was close to giving up, and he started with Noel and he got going, and it's like a good manager, and it's not what he says, it's how he makes you feel, that kind of thing. Like Noel wouldn't be bollocking you, he'd be constructive, he'd have a great read of a race, he'd know that what you'd planned doing if it didn't work out, but he saw what you were doing, So he's for a fella like who's 6 foot, whatever he is, like, he's no relation to a jockey to look at, but he's a great feel for a race and read a race. So it was a great place to start. And as I said, there's loads of good lads have come through. And as I say, Sean Flanagan is, he's flying now and he's top of the game.
I've never heard somebody say that about a trainer before and a jockey in terms of your man management, like a manager over a player.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for it, and you see, some trainers, jockeys don't, they tend to be bringing in a new jockey every couple of years, but then you see, like I was even having a chat with Nico when I was in riding work and
Nico de
Boinville, and he's with Nicky 10 years, which is a good reflection of a good relationship. Wayne Hutchinson is with Alan King, I think, 18 years. Richard Johnson with Philip Hobbs for since David Nicholson nearly, like he's probably 20 years with Philip Hobbs. That reflects, a good relationship. Or when you have a turnover of riders, it's, I suppose, you look at, not everyone's going to get on. You might have to change a rider now and again, but if it's something that's happening regularly,
Tells its own story,
tells
maybe.
its own story, exactly. Whereas, you know, it's you see what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done with Man United, you know, and obviously Mourinho, one of the best in the game. I'm not a big soccer fan, but you'd keep an eye on it. But you know, it just goes to show you maybe egos, clashes, whatever. Like you get the right man in, doing it simple, you know, with a good read and a good feel. There's a lot to be said for it.
How big of an influence were your parents?
Oh, sure, look, as a kid, I suppose the main thing they probably did was just let me run riot, as my other two brothers were the same, you know, ponies, and go as hard as you like. And, you know, we did a lot of show jumping, a lot of pony club, mounted games, you know, we were at every cockfight, if you like, but there was always an element of speed, I'd say, from the age of 13. So it was always, you know, dressage and show jumping was moving a bit slow. It was just, it was moving too slow. Like, you know, you started off there as a young lad and thinking, this just isn't, you know, it's not the same buzz. Like, you watched the racing on a Saturday and you went out, you tacked up the ponies and you blitzed them around the farm, jumping fences, jumping anything that could be jumped, you know. So it was a good how would you say, way to...
Yeah, you were being nurtured in the right way anyway.
Well, I was being let loose anyway, which was what I wanted.
Yeah, and Ross, how is Ross getting on nowadays? He's done very well in the States.
Yeah, you know, there's racing, jump racing over there. Like, there wouldn't be as much as there is here. I don't know if there's probably 40 or 50 meetings a year. So, but he's been riding plenty of winners there over the years. So he's kept going. The
Jessica Harrington days, I suppose most people remember you by. How did that all come about?
I actually, in Pony Club, I rode ponies for John Fowler's wife. Now, God bless, both have passed on since. And so I was riding for Noel, and I'd say I was only riding maybe 4 or 5 months, and I got a spare ride for Jessie on Market Lass.
Was that through the Fowlers, or was it
I'd wonder, was there, you know, it was out of the blue. I was riding for Noel. I didn't know Jessie at all at the time, obviously well aware of her, but I'd have known the Fowlers well. And whether, you know, sure, it might have been mentioned at some stage. You know, I'd done a lot of pony club and rode ponies, a really good pony for Lady Fowler. So I don't know, I never asked Jessie, but my first ride was Market Lass.
Never asked her?
I never asked.
Not once.
I never felt
I'd always be a bit curious anyway. Why did you take me on?
Do you know what? Don't ask the question. Yeah.
If the tree falls, there's nobody around to hear it didn't fall. Like, you know.
Yeah. So she won first ride with Jessie. That won a good mare's hurdle in Fairhouse, and Peter Fahey actually, who was riding the favourite, one of their own. I got up and beat that. So it was a
sweet. Yeah.
Well, Peter was Jessie's amateur at the time, so that was a good starting point, and it just went quickly from there.
How long were you with Jessie then when you had to tally it up?
That was 97 or 8. So yeah, no, she's for the same day you go, like, you know, that's a reflection, you know, of a relationship. You know, I'm 40 now in September, so I'm riding for Jessie on and off for 23 years.
I think she's so remarkable that people just take it for granted what she's done, you know, and also the fact that she almost changed her career in her 70s to become like a big flat trainer as well. But
even go back to, like, when I started, there was no women. Like, Jenny Pittman was on her own in England. There was no women training, you know, and there was a big... And if you watch Jump Girls, Jessie refers to that. And it was only when she said it I could remember back then, like, you know, Jessie Harrington, you're watching her, she's training Space Trucker and these good horses. You know, everyone's sitting up and taking note, this woman, you know, and... You know, she's afraid of knowing, was afraid of knowing then, and she's afraid of knowing now. Like, so she did brilliantly then, but then, as you said, to, you know, transform from being a top-level jump trainer. Now, jump trainers train winners on the flat in Royal Ascot and that, like, and Willie and Nicky has done it, and loads of good trainers have trained winners there of big flat handicaps and the stairs, especially pipes. But to actually go training classic winners, you know, that's Aidan O'Brien is the only other jump trainer I can think of who's done that, unless you go back to Vincent O'Brien and more like that, you know. But it's been amazing what she's done, and, you know, she did brilliantly with Alpha Centauri last year. It was just a pity that, in ways, obviously a pity she didn't get the chance to progress further, because she was an amazing filly. She must have been something of a pioneer for women in racing as well, that, you know, you can do it. Oh, and there's a good few pioneers, you know, at the minute, like Rachel Blackmore, brilliant rider, Lizzie Kelly and Bryony Frost, and that doing great. But Rachel is, there's no doubt, she is top class.
Just on Rachel, yeah, that's been one of the greatest stories really in Irish racing for years, and is what that might do for the future of the sport.
Oh, completely. And like, you know, Katie and Nina brought it to a level, and like excellent riders, and like we all thought this was amazing what they had done. And even there was talk about Nina maybe turning professional one stage. I was thinking, oh geez, I'd be desperate, you know, she'd, you know, you don't like to see a girl going out and getting carved up with a fall, not alone a fella either, but you wouldn't fancy a girl anyway. But she's just top class. You know, horses jump for her, horses travel for her. She is up for it. You know, you see Keith Donoghue getting tight for room in Limerick there recently. You know, she holds her line. She's.
I wasn't happy with her having back Keith's horse, who was taken out of the race, but she's brave.
There's no corner given. Like she's top class.
Friday Night Racing is brought to you by GoRacing.ie as ever. I just wanted, we don't have all day unfortunately because we could talk all day about the horses, but my early memories of you revolve around Moscow Flyer, and I don't know, every time you mention that horse to somebody, you just get hairs in the back of your neck because of the memories that he obviously brings about.
Oh yeah, and it's an amazing horse. Barbara White at HRI sent me a picture just today when she was sending me details for coming in here of Moscow jumping a fence into Tingle Creek in 2003 or 4.
Well, Chief and Geraghty probably.
No, there was nothing else. It was just him on his own, isolated, you know, in a clear sky. You know, he was something else. Like he wasn't the easiest in the world, but he always came up trumps. If I wasn't on the floor, you know, he always won. So he was top class, and like that as well. You know, I was on the floor a few times, and you know, hands up. You know, it wasn't always the horse's fault.
Why do you say that?
I got the fall
mixed
off
messages, or
yeah, he wasn't straightforward. He wasn't the easiest. Like he was a horse who
all or
concentration
nothing
levels were. You know, geez, when he unseated me in the champion chase in 2004. Like, he jumped the first few fences well, he took a chance at the fourth, jumped the next two well, and I promise you, he went down the back with one ear looking this way, and like the way their ears are facing, that's the way they're looking. So he's like this, so he's one eye this way and one eye that way.
What do you do to a horse when you see that?
Sure, all you can do is keep a hold of him, keep a squeeze, try and come on. You hit him a smack in the neck, but you don't want to set him alight by giving him a smack in the neck. So you're trying to just, you know, here, lad, here,
we're in a race here.
A little squeezy. Here's the fences coming now, you know. And your man, no, he went down, he galloped through every fence down the back. No matter if I gave him a squeeze, he'd hit it. If I sat, he'd hit it. And anyway, we wound up in the middle of the ditch and I was in the floor.
In those days, Irish winners at Cheltenham were regular, but they were, you know, we'd always have less than the British, but the Irish...
4 or 5.
They had 4 or 5,
yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
But 3-day festival and all that, but the Irish adored him.
Moscow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was, I suppose, because he was a bit of a flawed genius, you know. But he himself and Isterbrack clashed twice. Moscow fell the first day, Isterbrack fell the second day. So they never actually got to, and the champion hurdle was called off that year with foot and mouth, so they never actually got to square up and see who was the best. Now, Isterbrack was on the tail end of his career, but Moscow was his biggest danger. So he was at the time, he was the next best to Isterbrack. And then to go and, you know, to be arguably probably a better chaser than a hurdler. He went 4 full seasons unbeaten when I didn't fall off him. So that's not done too often. You know, and especially with a jumper, because the attrition rate with injuries and everything, like, so it's you know, and testament to Jessie again that she could keep him on the go for all those years. Like, he was never a non-runner, I think.
He seemed to have a bit of he kind of knew that he was good. You know, there's something about him.
Yeah, do you know what? A good horse will get away with anything as regards character, a flawed character. But if he's no good, you'll say, oh, he is a tramp. He's a tramp, that lad. But a good horse, it's a character. Yeah. It's a different read.
Great photo of the three of you there as well. Where does he stand in terms of your favourite horses?
Oh, it's like picking your kids, if you like. But no.
Who are your top 3 then? Or?
Well, sure, him and Sprinter are the top 2.
I'm not going to ask you to compare them because...
Well, so the polar opposites.
Yeah.
But like, I remember they did the top 52 milers in the Racing Post, and I said, well, I'm not a great judge because I couldn't split Sprinter and Moscow, and Moscow's only 5th, which was a bit of a surprise because he was there for so long and he was as good as unbeatable at the time. But I wouldn't split them. 2 amazing horses, and then you'd have to have Bobsworth. I'd have a soft spot for Bobsworth coming rattling in behind.
Absolutely, the Gold Cup winner. Sprinter Sacre was beauty, really, wasn't he?
Oh, he was everything. But you know, he was probably more vulnerable. You know, but he oozed class.
Why was he more vulnerable?
Well, you know, he always had wind issues. You know, his heart got him when he went back that season after winning all the year before. You know, was that a hangover of having had a long season? I don't know. You know, so there was times like when he won in Punchestown that year, like he cantered everywhere to the fourth last, hit a patch of heavy ground, and boom, he just emptied. So I'm nursing him home from there. You'd never have to nurse Moscow. You know, he was just a complete terrier. You know, if you're off the bridle in Moscow, it's because they're going too quick, which is perfect, because then you know you're going to stay all day, you're going to finish. So like he was probably more reliable, but the other fella just had so much class. Like I never rode anything over a fence like Sprinter. Like the way he could jump a fence, the ease that he would just leave the ground and give it 2 foot. And
how do you describe that feeling? 2 mile race.
Do you know what? He's the only horse I ever got it off. You know, and I've ridden a lot of good horses over the years. But yeah, just to go to, like, I remember going to the last in the Melling Chase in Aintree, and proper grade 1. You'd Fleming Star. I don't know what else was in it, but you're the best of what was around. And so I'm going to the last and I'm meeting it on a long stride, so 5 strides away I can see it's coming up long. Gave him an inch of rein, so he lengthens through the 5th, 4th, and as he's going into the 3rd last stride, he's extended so much on those that the last 2 strides are coming up shorter. So I had to take him back again.
This is a split second stuff, like.
Just a split second, but just to go into the last. Like, that could happen to you through a race, halfway through a race, and wouldn't be a strange thing. Like, just give a lad an inch and you'd have to take him back again because he's getting there too easy. But going to the last in grade 1, 3 weeks after winning the Champion Chase, you know, that's fairly dismissing the opposition. Proper horses, like. So I've never had it off anything else. Or when he broke the track record in Newbury, he didn't stop pulling until the back of the last, and he just coasted home on the bridle, didn't squeeze, didn't click, didn't do anything, not even thinking about the clock. But he broke the track record on his 3rd run, but at his ease, you know, he dawdled in.
You mentioned Bobsworth as well. What has your time been like with Nicky Henderson in general?
Great, brilliant man. You know, the same thing as well. Like, there's the longevity there with Nicky. Like, not just for me, but go before me. Mick Fitz was there for years. Nico has slotted in after me, and he will be there for years too. You know, so no, he's a great man to work for. You know, he takes the highs, takes the lows equally. Very rarely would he. You know, he might bark and shout, but he wouldn't. You know, he wouldn't. You'd have done something seriously wrong to rile him properly. You know, he's a good man to work for.
What sets him apart in terms of how good he's been as a trainer?
Do you know, it's just to peak them for Cheltenham. You know, all his season is geared towards it. You know, he won't have them fully cooked for Christmas. He won't have them fully cooked for any day until Cheltenham, and that's when he peaks them. And you'd be riding work on the weeks running up to Cheltenham, and you'd be watching him studying the horses. You'd be coming down the gallop, and he'd be studying, and he'd be figuring out, is he going to work him over 7? Will he work him over 8? What will he put him with? You know, will he lead? Will he be behind? Where will he go? Like, he's just, the fine detail there is scary. You know, and he's moving on towards 70, like Jesse's in her 70s as well, but they're just, those people are so switched on and clued in, and it's second nature to them, but it's, you know, not many have that nature.
We have JP McManus in the photo there that we had up. How did that come about, the role with JP?
Well, I rode lots of winners all the way through my career. I remember riding a winner for Edward O'Grady on and Maggie or Aggie or something like that for JP when I was a 5-pound claimer. Actually, my second festival winner was You Never Walk Alone, Christy Roach. For
that
JP.
Was the year of the 5-timer.
That was 2003, yeah. So
he was a bit tricky as well, wasn't he? You had to deliver him late. Yeah. But he won well the same day after winning the Leopardstown Chase before that. And I rode Lacuda, a couple of grade 1 winners the same time. So I've been lucky enough to have ridden plenty for JP on and off. Obviously AP rode from then for whatever 10 or 12 years, and I won in Jesky and more of that, who were the second strings in 2014, and then AP was suspended for the Irish Grand National, and I won and shut the front door there, so it, you know, probably left me in a good position, I'd say. How has your role changed there as well? Because obviously Mark Walsh getting a lot of rides as well, probably a rider that doesn't get the credit he deserves, because maybe he's not in Britain very often and he's very low key.
Yeah, low-key fella. He'd have been champion jockey a couple of years ago, only for did he break his leg in Thurles one day, and he was ahead in the championship, and it was pushing on in the season. So no, he's a very good rider, you know, and you saw that in Cheltenham this year with his champion hurdle and the Neptune as well, or the Ballymore, should I say. So no, he deserves every opportunity he gets. But you know, there's so many horses between England and Ireland and everywhere. You know, you can't ride them all, and I suppose Mark deserves, you know, more opportunity. So that's how it is. But as I said, I've had a good season and plenty of good winners and plenty of good horses. So there's plenty there for us all.
Who was the best of the jockeys? I mean, you were around in a golden era. You still are. I think Carberry, you know, there's nobody like Paul Carberry, but then you've yourself, Ruby and Davy Russell as well, and Tony McCoy until he retired. Yeah,
do you know, it's a funny one. When you're young, your elders, you're looking at them and you're in awe of them, and I think it's only as you get older yourself, you look across the board and you say, well, do you know what, that lad he's very good, or that lad mightn't be as good. And then you look back in the past and you think, that fella actually wasn't that good riders, like, you know, but you kind of, when you break it down, like the top class, like the Muddy was the obvious one as a kid. Like, to me, he was God when I was young. You know, brilliant rider. You know, he was so strong, so effective, so stylish. You know, he was poetry in motion on the horse, but was very driven, and probably too driven, and would maybe press the button too early. You know, on the other hand, Charlie Swan, timing unbelievable. You know, his judgment of pace, but then not as natural over a jump as, say, Conrad Ware or Paul Carberry, whose timing would be brilliant as well. Timmy Murphy, to me, was probably the most natural rider over a jump. Like, and I know Timmy got a bit of slagging later on in his career, but you know, Timmy wouldn't have coped well with pressure. But when Timmy was just let loose on a horse, be it on the pace or off the pace, and he just had him switched off and jumping. There was
horse didn't know he was there, like.
Oh, he just absolute poetry for me. Like Timmy was, he would be the type of rider you'd love to see. Like, he's just, you know, when a horse is doing it, let do it at his ease. You know, and he was stylish. He was, you know, he finished up a flat jockey, you know, but he had that kind of style, but could deliver one late. But horses just jumped. So I love Timmy as a rider. But you know, as I say, as you get older, you kind of see lads falls. Like AP was brilliant, you know, but an absolute machine, you know, up and down the country. Dickie Johnson the same, you know. So it's, you know, Ruby's obviously a brilliant rider as well, and he's got plenty of stick in recent years, but I think it's misguided as well. You know, it's you get these falls. I got my fall in entry, so it goes with the territory. Yeah, there are a few classy jockeys to mention here as well, because the Off the Ball will be previewing the Punchestown Festival from the Alex Hotel in Dublin next Wednesday, 24th of April, and you can be there too. We'll have an all-star lineup for the world of racing and beyond, including Ruby Walsh and Robbie Power. I'll be there as well as we look ahead to the grand finale of the jump season, the Punchestown Festival, which includes 39 races, 12 Grade 1s and over €3 million in prize money, but no Barry Geraghty, unfortunately. It's the Punchestown Festival, April 30 to May 4th. Book your tickets now on punchestown.com. Punchestown, it's your kind of town. Yourself, Ruby and Davy, as I said, you're all 40 this year, or if not turned 40. Which of you retires first? That's the tough question, isn't it? Well, I can't imagine any of us are going to tell the other that or ask the other fella who's going to go first.
The retirement that dare not speak its name. It must be the elephant in the room for the lads getting a bit older.
Oh, no, geez, no, not at all. Honestly, not.
Does it frighten you, the prospect of it? Or concern you?
No, it'd be a big change. Jeez, it'd be a big change. Yeah, it'd be a big adjustment. But, you know, it's around the corner at some stage.
Have you ever thought about it? As in, were you close to retirement?
No.
When you get one more injury, it's just like, oh, can I go through this again?
No, Jesus, no. I'd have no. Like, I was chatting, JP and Frank Berry called into the hospital after I got the fall, and they were after straightening my leg, and
Two men of many words.
Two men that called in for a juice, and I was on the way back round after having my leg straightened, so I was full of gear and talking complete. I was apologising for being drunk as a lord, but I was just chatting with the lads, and like that I'm still half out of it. But I was saying, you know, when I broke the previous leg 4 years ago, I was on the ground and all I was thinking was Ma Falou, good Mary Nicky's, you know, loved riding her. I won the top of on her, lots of good winners, but just a proper buzz to ride, and that was the one I was missing. And I was on the ground with this one, and all I was thinking was Deafy Desai. So, you know, if that's what the mind is at the time, fuck it, you know, it's not right. Obviously, you're missing the national. Annabelle Fly had a chance.
How would that have worked out? Because it's not as if Mark did anything wrong.
Oh no, it wasn't. You know, he had a big task at hand with all the weight he had.
Ran well.
He ran well, but you know, he never looked to really threaten, I suppose. You know, and he was probably laboured enough in the Gold Cup as well. So, you know, he had his chance, but you know, it was never coming his way on the day. You know, I've ridden in probably close to 20 Grand Nationals. I'm lucky to win one. You know, and you need everything in your favour to win it. And you know, I wouldn't have thought the drying ground, the weight, he'd a bit against him, you know, and the quick return from Cheltenham after having a tough race.
What was your favourite memory then in racing? Was it, when we're talking like Cheltenham?
Oh, entry, the Grand National.
Yeah, well, that was...
Oh, there's no doubt. It's
really?
Yeah, no doubt.
What do you remember about the day?
The moment that sticks out for me most of all was, I'd say, was it after...
How long ago was that now? It was 2003, yeah. Monty's Pass.
So it was about the third last fence, and I'm doing an absolute canter, afraid to move a muscle for the fear he might come alive. I think I'd Gunnar Welborn was doing the horse ahead of me. Amberley House was a bit behind me, but they're strung out like sheep, and I'm just sitting there quiet as a church mouse, as if you had to go around again nearly. But at that point of the track, there's no crowd, there's no amplification, and it's just the silence. And that's the moment that sticks out with me now, because like here you are on the verge of winning the biggest race in the world, and you know, you're looking around thinking, this is...
You were definitely instrumental in me getting into racing, because I went to college in DCU and we only did 10 or 12 hours a week and I'd nothing to be doing, so I went up to the bookies out of boredom. And the year you were the 5-timer at Cheltenham, for some reason I pretty much backed everything you were riding. I thought this is the best thing ever. But the local bingo hall, Monty's Pass's owner, pretty sure he owned the local...
Yeah, he owned bingo halls, yeah.
Yeah, and he used to give... everyone in the bingo hall was on Monty's that year, and it was just... it was literally just down the road from us, and then... the race comes up, and I think the bookies in Whitehall was on him from the women in the bingo hall.
Yeah, no, he was slashed in price on the day. I think he was could have been 20s into 10s or something like that. And I know Mike took a lot of money off him.
What more can you achieve?
Sure, when you love doing it, you know, and you love riding good horses especially, and riding good winners, that's what you want. Sure, like you'd love to win a Gold Cup, you'd love to win a Champion Hurdle, you'd love to win a King George, you'd love to win like winners and Leopards at Christmas. Like I'd say, you know, in the last 7 or 8 years, the winners that would stand out for me were the Galway Hurdle, Tigris River, because I'd been second in the Galway Hurdle with 3 or 4 times. I'd fallen with chances at the last. I'd got off a few that won, and to win it the way I did, I was only back about 4 days after breaking my arm. That was a brilliant day. To win the Irish Grand National, I shut the front door, having waited. I'd say I'd ridden in about 15 or 16 or more. Maybe first ride in the Irish Grand National in '98 for Jesse and Miss Orchestra, so I was sick of going to Ferrios and not even going close. So to win that was great. Bob's at winning the Lexus in Leopardstown at Christmas. That was just, you know, great buzz. You know, so to say, oh, I'd love to win this, I'd love to win that. But, you know, it's just when it comes on the day and it happens. And on races like that maybe eluded you, and, you know, it just all falls in place. And, you know, you just savour the day more than look forward to what ifs or make, you know, set targets, but just savour the moment and enjoy it.
What are you doing in 10 years' time?
What am I doing in 10 years' time? Well, I'll be retired by then, I'd imagine.
We can definitely predict, Geraghty, I'll be retired in 10 years' time.
Yeah. I'd been buying and selling horses for a good few years, and I've been lucky enough, you know.
Are you going training?
No.
Definitely not?
No, I'd you know, do young horses, pre-train, pointers, fun, you know. No, I wouldn't. You know, you spend, 23 years trying to master the profession I'm in, and you're still learning. You know, and then you go and you try and take on Willie Mullins and Nicky Henderson and Jesse Harrington, who've spent the last 20, 30, 40 years
trying to figure out theirs,
and I'm coming in a scratch.
We JJ Slevin on last week, and I asked him the same question, and he said no, and then by the end of the same sentence he was going training a few, and he was like, I'll train a couple of pointers, might have 1 or 2 for the track, but you're more or less ruling it out yourself. But you'll stay in racing anyway.
Oh yeah, sure. Look at, I'm sponsored by Sky Sports Racing and do my blog on At The Races, the website attheraces.com. So I'm,
you want to get a bit of media work as well?
I enjoy working with them. They're very good to work with. So, obviously, Racing TV have Irish racing at the minute. Whether that'll be different in 4 or 5 years' time, sure. But I love racing. I enjoy everything about it, and I enjoy the media work as well. But I can't say I'll be doing it full time, but it's something I would enjoy continuing to do.
The Tote Irish Injured Jockeys Charity Fund improved to €3,439.44 after we landed a winner thanks to the names Jock scoring at Cork a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to give my selection tip this weekend, Get a Bird, that is running in the Ryanair Gold Cup at 4:25 at Ferryhouse. The Irish National, obviously sponsored by Boyle Sports, is the feature on the Monday. What's your record like in that race? I know you won it with Butler's Cabin.
Won it on Shut Front Door.
Shut Front Door, rather, sorry.
No. And rode, I'd say, about 7 or 8 favourites. And I'd say I never finished in the first 8.
What is it about the race? And also I asked JJ this as well last week. What's the difference? What's a tougher fence to jump right now? Aintree National fences or Ferryhouse Grand National fences?
No, Aintree. Like Ferry's got a track, but it's your park course, if you like. It's their... they're a sturdy fence, but it's the
photo
pace
Magical
of the race.
Light, we'll say, where half the fence you seem to be just going through it like a hologram.
Yeah, I know. Well, I suppose, that's a fair point. They're not what they were, the entry fences.
Which is fair enough.
Yeah, but they're still, they're not straightforward. Here, I broke my leg, it wasn't that straightforward. Any second now, obviously, it was a hell of a performance from him at Cheltenham for JP. I guess you won't have a ride in the race, but any second now he could be favoured obviously for the Irish National, and he did it nicely at Cheltenham, didn't he? He did, but the Kim Muir was not 1 for 5 handicap, so he's down in grade from an open handicap. He'd plenty of goals at good competitive handicaps, and he came up short. Personally, he surprised me to win in Cheltenham, having come up short so many times before. But I'd say just that drop in class maybe just opened the door for him, and it'd be great to see him win, but on his previous form to Cheltenham, you'd have to question it.
And people who want to get your views on the race can go to attheraces.com.
Yeah, I'll be doing my blog on At The Races for Ferryhouse and for Punchestown.
Yeah, there's also very good racing at Cork this weekend on Sunday, and the Betway Steeplechase that is at 3:10. That's going to be a very interesting race, and obviously if you are around, Ferryhouse is going to be very, very exciting in terms of both days. But great meet. We go back to the Irish National when the Easter Rising took place. I remember there was the story of the people coming back from Ferryhouse and coming back into Dublin, going into ruins. It's a real long-standing occasion.
Yeah,
and for you as well from County Meath.
Yeah, I'm from only, I'd say 10 miles. I'm living closer. I'm only living 5 miles from Ferryhouse. I remember standing at the last with my brothers and a few friends when I would have been 10 or 11, watching Adrian Maguire on a mortar beating Carroll Howe. It's, and you could get out on the track then. You'd have to bluff your way out now and get out. But it was a great meeting, and still is. But no, I think it's 150 years old shortly or so. Like, it's a race of great history, and you see all the good horses there. Tom Draper with all the great horses over the years. Desert Orchid won it. It's a top class handicap, and the level of prize money brings it to that level. Like, it's $500,000 in handicaps. It's second only to the Integral National, I'm sure.
When will you be back?
Always the plan.
Yeah, are you confident of that?
Well,
looking at you now, you're not far off.
Yeah, I have a bit to go, but I'm told that this is. The bone is put together. I'm slightly weight bearing.
Can you give us one more look at it there before we wrap up?
But it's
quite bruised.
Yeah, and swollen. I'm struggling with swelling more than anything. But so I'm putting a bit of weight on it. But in a few weeks' time, I'll be putting more weight on it, and that promotes the healing. So unfortunately, it is what it is. But it is interesting, because I've never had anything like this before. I know Ruby had one a few years ago and sent me up some trousers he had adjusted, but they were a bit tight. But I had to get these. I'm wearing this tracksuit today, and I have a zip down the side. I had to get these tracksuit extended, so I'm going for the sporty look for that reason.
Reminds me of the fashion of another era. It's good to have an understanding wife as well.
Well, look, it's a big help, and she's also very good at providing for
the kids.
Meals, kids. She's doing the whole lot, running the show, and
She's 4 kids in the house now rather than 3.
I'd say she's like 4.5. I'd say.
Brilliant having you in. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Johnny.
Particularly considering the predicament you're in. And remember, you can enjoy the Tote versus SP Best Price Guarantee in all Irish racing this weekend. See thetote.com for more details. It's been great having Barry in. Friday Night Race will be back in next week. And remember, get your tickets now for our Punchestown preview. That's next Wednesday the 24th in the Alex Hotel in Dublin. You'll know the Alex Hotel is all the O'Callaghan horses. Alexander Gold Run, Alexander Banquet, some famous colours as well.
Yeah, no, I've won the Drinmore and Alexander Banquet and a few other rest. A good horse, but Nola Callan, good supporter.
Proper supporter of racing. So that is next Wednesday in the Alex Hotel with Ruby Walsh and Robbie Power, one of them as well as a fellow Meadman to Barry. Tickets are available now on offtheball.com /events, and we'll talk to you then.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.